A marriage proposal is supposed to be a moment of pure joy. It's the start of a new chapter, a question that changes two lives forever. But for some, the grand gesture goes horribly wrong. The desire to create an unforgettable moment leads to a fatal mistake. These are the stories of proposals that didn't end with a wedding, but with a funeral, and in every case, the tragedy was completely preventable. Case 1. The proposal she never heard. Some proposal videos are hard to watch because they're awkward. This one is hard to watch because you are witnessing a man's final moments, filmed by the woman he was about to ask to marry him. It was September 19th, 2019, at the luxurious Manta Resort off the coast of Tanzania. Stephen Weber Jr. and his girlfriend, Kenisha Antoine, were on a dream vacation, staying in a unique underwater cabin that cost $1,700 a night. On the third day of their trip, Stephen decided to make the ultimate romantic gesture. While Kenisha watched from inside the submerged room, he took a deep breath and free-dove into the ocean, wearing only a mask and fins. The decision was to propose without any safety equipment. Stephen swam down to the cabin's window and pressed a handwritten note against the glass. Kenisha, filming the whole thing, read the note. "I can't hold my breath long enough to tell you everything I love about you, but everything I love about you, I love more every day." He then flipped the page over, revealing the words, "Will you please be my wife? Marry me?" He pulled out an engagement ring and swam away, presumably to surface. But he never did. Stephen Weber drowned just moments after his proposal. He was freediving alone, without a dive buddy or any breathing apparatus, and simply ran out of air. The very words he wrote as a romantic gesture, "I can't hold my breath long enough," became a tragic, literal truth. His girlfriend, Kenisha, never got to give her answer, which she later posted on Facebook would have been 1,000,000 times, yes. The video she recorded, meant to capture the happiest moment of their lives, instead captured his last. Case 2. The jump for joy. Getting a yes is the best possible outcome of a proposal. For one man in Japan, that joyous moment led directly to his death, all because his celebration went a step too far. It was the early morning of September 4th, 2017, in Okinawa, Japan. A 32-year-old man and his girlfriend were driving across the stunning Irabu Bridge, the longest toll-free bridge in the country. He asked her to pull over, telling her he wanted to admire the view. He then got down on one knee and proposed. She said yes. Overcome with excitement, he decided to make a joke. The decision was to celebrate by climbing the bridge's railing. After his girlfriend accepted, the man, who had been drinking, was so overjoyed that he climbed onto the railing of the 100-foot-high bridge. He spread his arms wide in a classic King of the World pose to celebrate the moment, but his celebration was cut short. He lost his balance and plummeted into the water below. His terrified fiancée could only watch as he disappeared. Rescue crews were called, but it took them 7 hours to find his body. He had drowned. The police confirmed that alcohol was a factor in the tragic accident. The Irabu Bridge is a famous tourist landmark, known for its breathtaking views, but for this couple, it became the site of a completely avoidable tragedy. His ecstatic celebration of a new life together ended his own in a matter of seconds. The jump for joy became a fatal fall, all because of a drunken split-second decision to turn a bridge railing into a victory podium for cars, into a personal playground equipment, into a victory podium. Those were two stories of personal split-second mistakes. But what happens when the dumb decision isn't made by the person proposing, but by the company they paid to make their dream a reality? The next case involves a hot air balloon, a proposal, and a flight that should never have taken off. Case 3. The illegal flight. A hot air balloon ride is a classic romantic way to propose. But for one Brazilian couple, their fairy tale moment turned into a nightmare when they realized their pilot was more reckless than romantic. It was June 15th, 2025, in Boituva, Brazil. Tiago Campinas and his girlfriend, Gabrielle Nascimento, were about to board a hot air balloon for a scenic flight. Gabrielle was nervous about the strong winds, but the pilot assured them it was safe to fly. What they didn't know was that this was a clandestine, illegal operation, and the balloon was dangerously overloaded with 33 passengers. As they ascended, Tiago proposed, and Gabrielle said yes. For a moment, it was perfect. The decision was to fly despite the danger. Soon after the proposal, the pilot lost control. A second balloon that had launched with them had already landed due to the high winds, but their pilot pressed on. The balloon was dragged across an orange grove, throwing 4 people from the basket. After a second, even more violent landing, most passengers, including the newly engaged couple, managed to jump out, but not everyone was so lucky. Juliana Pereira, a 27-year-old newlywed celebrating her own recent marriage, was fatally injured in the crash. The pilot was arrested for aggravated manslaughter and operating an illegal flight. He had ignored weather warnings, overloaded his balloon, and lied to his passengers about the safety of the flight. One couple's engagement story became another couple's tragedy. The pilot's greed and recklessness turned a romantic gesture into a fatal event, all because he chose to fly when he should have stayed on the ground. That was a case of misplaced trust. The next story is about a man who had too much trust in himself. He was an expert climber who reached the highest of highs, both literally and emotionally, only to make one final fatal mistake. Case 4. The happiest last day. For an experienced climber, conquering a mountain is a feeling like no other. For Brad Parker, that feeling was amplified by the fact that he had just gotten engaged on top of one. It was August 16, 2014, in Yosemite National Park. Brad Parker, a 36-year-old yoga instructor and accomplished climber, had just hiked to the summit of Cathedral Peak with his girlfriend there, he proposed, and she accepted. He immediately called his father to share the news, telling him, "This is the happiest day of my life." High on the emotion of the moment, Brad decided to celebrate with one more climb. The decision was to climb alone, without ropes. While his new fiancée headed back down, Brad set off to free solo Mathis Crest. A challenging rock formation, free soloing means climbing without any ropes or safety gear, a high-risk activity reserved for the most skilled and focused climbers. But Brad, still buzzing from the proposal, may have been overconfident. Hours later, other climbers witnessed him fall 300 feet to his death. Brad was a celebrated climber, even appearing on the cover of California Climber magazine. But his expertise couldn't save him from a moment of possible distraction or overexcitement. His father was left stunned. The happiest day of his son's life had become his last. The emotional high of his engagement may have clouded his judgment just enough to make a fatal error on a climb he had the skill to complete, but not the focus. Brad Parker's death was a result of his own risky choice. But what if the danger isn't something you can control? The final case is a tragic reminder that sometimes you can be in the wrong place at the wrong time, with a ring in your pocket and no time to use it. Case 5. The proposal that never was. A mountaintop proposal is a classic for a reason. The stunning views and sense of accomplishment create a perfect romantic backdrop. But for one Tennessee couple, that beautiful backdrop turned deadly in a flash. It was June 4, 2010. Richard Butler drove his girlfriend of 1 year, 25-year-old Bethany Lott, to Max Patch Bald, a scenic mountain in North Carolina. He told her they were just going for a stroll, but he had an engagement ring hidden in his pocket, planning to propose at the summit. Bethany, an avid hiker who loved the mountains, was in her element. Her last words were, "Look at how beautiful it is." The decision was to ignore the weather. As they reached the exposed, open peak, the weather took a turn. Lightning struck 3 times. The third bolt hit the couple directly. Richard was thrown several feet, his shoes smoking and his body suffering 3rd-degree burns. Bethany was killed instantly. He crawled over to her and performed CPR for 15 minutes. But it was too late. She was gone. Richard never even had the chance to ask the question. The ring remained in his pocket. Their romantic hike had turned into a tragedy because they were on an exposed mountaintop during a thunderstorm, one of the most dangerous places to be. It wasn't a dumb decision in the same way as the others, but a tragic oversight. A simple weather check could have saved her life. In the cruelest twist of fate, the place Richard had chosen to start their future together became the place where Bethany's life ended. The beauty she admired in her final moments was accompanied by a power that neither of them could have survived. From a celebratory jump to a risky climb, these stories show how the desire to create a perfect, memorable proposal can lead to disaster. The grand gesture, meant to be the start of a lifetime together, becomes the cause of a life cut short. It's a tragic reminder that no matter how romantic the plan, a single bad decision, or a moment of bad luck, can turn a question of marriage into a question of life and death. Which of these proposals was the most tragic? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to see more stories of love gone wrong, check out our video on the worst wedding deaths. Stay safe, and maybe keep your proposals on solid ground.